The Revenant has been a staple in the Doom games ever since its introduction in 1994 on map 06, The Crusher. But I never really realized how horrific and gruesome the lore of the demons had become. It started out kind of funny, but the more recent titles turned it into something truly inhuman. And the worst part is, it's not even the demons themselves who are directly responsible for it. Let's start with Doom 2. The lore behind the Doom 2 Revenant is simple. Demons die, Hell takes their corpses, equips them with combat gear, and shoves them back into battle. They're tall, like really fucking tall, 9 feet. For comparison, an elephant stands between 8 to 13 feet tall. Doomguy, in the older games, was said to be about 6 feet tall, though he got a bit bulkier in the newer ones. So maybe Hell only selects bigger demons for conversion, or more likely, the operation done on the corpse actually increases its size. One question worth asking is, how the fuck does Hell have access to technology like homing missiles and combat armor? Well, that answer changes depending on which era of Doom you're looking at. In the classic Doom, demons had assimilated technology from their attack on the moons of Mars. If you look closely in the first Doom, no demon has cybernetics until you get to the Cyberdemon and Spider Mastermind. I like to think that while you were tearing your way from Episode 1 to the end of Episode 2, the demons had time to grab tech from the UAC bases and slap it onto their 2 most powerful units at the time. Then, in Doom 2, we start seeing a lot more demons with mechanical enhancements, like the Mancubus, Arachnotron, and our beloved Revenant. Under its armor, the Revenant has no muscles or soft tissue, which doesn't really make sense from a biological standpoint. But considering it's demonic in origin, it's easier to accept that some kind of hellish energy or dark magic is animating it, making it move like a normal humanoid. Another strange detail is the blood still visible on its body. Technically, it shouldn't be able to bleed. It doesn't have veins, a heart, or organs. That's why I tend to think this might be the leftover mess from the operation that turned it into a Revenant. Maybe all the flesh and organs were stripped out to repurpose the corpse, and the blood we see is just the gory remains of that brutal process, which, as we'll see later, will make more sense as we get deeper into the more recent lore. We now jump to Doom 3, which changed the demons quite a bit, without altering too much of the Revenant's physical design. The UAC managed to bring back a specimen from one of their incursions into Hell. In the logs, they mention they don't understand how this creature can move or be so strong without any muscle. The game doesn't explain why so many demons like the Lost Soul, Mancubus, or Pinky have cybernetic enhancements. With Pinky, we even see its other half still in Hell, but again, we could use a similar explanation as in the older games. While the Doom Marine is fighting his way through the base, Hell might have had just enough time to grab some tech and use it to build cybernetic demons. Sarge is the perfect example. Within a short window, Hell was able to fuse him onto a massive tank. So I have no issue believing they did the same to create several other cybernetic demons using tech stolen from the Mars base. The first major difference we notice in Doom 3's Revenant is the ghostly skin that clings to its bones. That effect actually comes from a texture test used to map out skeletal accuracy by comparing it to a flesh line. But when the developers saw the creature in action with that texture, they thought it looked interesting and decided to keep it. The second big change is its speed. The Revenant now moves slowly, sometimes sidestepping to dodge attacks. Its missiles are more agile than before, but can now be destroyed mid-air. Then we move on to Doom 2016, where we get a lot more context behind the use of cybernetics. In this timeline, cybernetics are common. Samuel Hayden had his entire body transferred into a machine. Olivia Pierce had an operation to fuse an exoskeleton directly to her body. So it's no surprise that the UAC took an interest in cybernetic enhancements. The potential seemed endless, replacing limbs, boosting strength, enhancing cognitive functions. It could have changed everything, not just for soldiers, but for everyday workers. The world could have gained so much from such advancements. But of course, the UAC had other plans, especially Olivia Pierce. The Lazarus Labs were opened as a secret division focused entirely on researching and experimenting with Hell's power. One of those experiments was the Revenant program.
Volunteers are currently needed for the UAC's exciting new Revenant research program. Expand your potential, experience something new, and go beyond mere mortal limitations. See Jessica in Human Resources to find out if you qualify.
We don't know exactly who the test subjects were or what condition they were in when selected. Maybe they were injured soldiers. Maybe they were promised money or recovery. Either way, no one ever saw them again. The goal of the program was simple: create a demonic combat unit. On the surface, it appeared to be an effort to enhance soldiers using hell energy. Each subject was equipped with armor fitted with twin rocket launchers mounted on the shoulders, wired directly into a cortical implant, allowing the system to be controlled mentally. The suit's jetpack granted increased mobility, responding to thought-based commands. Afterward, the subjects were exposed to the Lazarus Wave. While it's not clearly stated why they needed to be infused with hell energy, it's implied that it was meant to boost their strength, not just for combat, but to ensure they could operate the suit and survive the physical trauma it caused. But then came a curious side effect. The Lazarus Wave mutated the subject's ossein proteins, the flexible structural base of bone. This caused every bone in the body to start expanding. At first, you might think the patient wouldn't feel much, maybe just a deep, strange pressure. After all, no one really knows what it feels like to have bones grow in this way. But each bone is wrapped in a thin, tough layer called the periosteum. That's what would stretch and tear first. And since it's packed with nerve endings, the pain would be extreme. Long, slow rips that make your whole body feel like it's on fire. And as the bones continue to grow, the rest of the body is forced to follow. Eventually, the skin begins to strain until it splits apart. Tendons and muscle fibers tear one strand at a time, and this isn't pain that fades or comes in waves. It's constant, sharp, unyielding. What's worse is that it doesn't last just, let's say, 3 minutes or 3 hours, not even 3 days. 3 weeks. For 21 days, he's locked in place, day and night, fully conscious, forced to endure his body turning against itself, like being flayed alive, not all at once, but slowly, minute by minute. By the end of it, almost all organs were decomposed, muscles were gone, and the subject stood nearly 3 meters tall, made entirely of thick bones who were then fused with cybernetic components. The result? A creature with enhanced speed, missile precision, and short-range flight, what could have been pivotal for any military forces. Unfortunately, the UAC couldn't control them as they were released from containment by Olivia Pierce before she activated the Lazarus Wave, which transformed part of the personnel into demons. The remaining survivors were torn to pieces, and the Revenants were surely responsible for a large share of the carnage. Eternal added a bit to the previous lore. The UAC was now under Hell's control, and the program was reopened to start production of Revenants. While probably not the only ones made on Earth, we can see in the Arctic a cultic base built over the ruins of an ancient Argenta settlement, dedicated to the production of various demon types like the Mancubus, Doom Hunters, and Revenants. They are physically similar to previous versions, but their armor and launchers now have a more hellish design. They were also fitted with patent signal implants wired directly into the host's frontal cortex. This puts them in a state of frenzy, rendering them incapable of thinking or feeling anything besides a compulsion to inflict death and violence. Their launchers now have more functions, including homing missiles, something not present in the 2016 iteration. One interesting aspect revealed in this game is that a Revenant can be remotely controlled using Maker technology, allowing a user to sit inside the demon and control it as if it were their own body. It's unclear if this is only possible with Revenants, dead subjects, or if it could be applied to other types of demons, but it's clear that such control would be extremely dangerous in the hands of any capable entity. Now, the Dark Ages brings us the most drastically changed version of the Revenant we've seen so far, not just in appearance and behavior, but in how the creature is born. We learn in the game that when souls first arrive in Hell, they're sorted into different layers on a massive barge, much like in Dante's Inferno. Among all these victims, only those who suffered the most, those truly broken, are becoming revenants. They become solitary hunters, their minds locked in constant agony. The only way to ease that torment is by inflicting suffering on others, and just for a brief moment, the pain fades, only to return stronger. So you can imagine how they become increasingly driven to cause death. The more they suffer, the more they want to stop it. The more they kill, the deeper they sink, spiraling into a never-ending fall of torment. The first image that comes to mind is the Grim Reaper. Skeletal face, dark hood, and a scythe in hand. This version has no cybernetic enhancements, only the rocket launcher looks remotely modern. One trait that still remains is its speed. This time, it hovers through the air. Yet unlike earlier versions that rushed you, this one tends to keep its distance, relying on his twin skull launchers and only using his scythe if he needs to. What really sets this Revenant apart is how it slips in and out of reality. It doesn't have much resistance to damage, but its new ability makes it one of the hardest to kill. When targeted, it phases into a ghost-like form, becoming completely immune. The only way to force it back into physical form is to parry projectiles into it. And voila. I wasn't sure at first if the new Revenant reveal would really feel like a Revenant. Sure, it looks different and has an ability we've never seen in any other game, but once you fight it and get used to the game's new mechanics, it does feel like a proper Revenant, just adapted for this version of Doom. Again, it's one of the trickiest demons to land a hit on at first, but once you learn how to parry, taking it down becomes much easier.